Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, is my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, Jacob Cloth. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm okay.
You feeling good?
Feeling ready and excited for your pitch this week.
You shouldn't be.
Oh, okay.
You should be ready and excited always.
Oh. Maybe not.
Nah. Sure, I'm ready and excited.
Always?
Pretty regularly, you know.
That's not true.
I'm pretty regularly...
You lying to our loyal listeners?
No, I'm pretty regularly excited to take a shit, you know?
Okay, well that wasn't appropriate.
Yes, it was. Like when I'm
We are a no potty talk podcast.
Since when?
Since I just said so. What's your pitch this week?
I have a show that I'm pitching. It's titled Ad Infinitum. Do you know what ad infinitum means? It's Latin for...
It is Latin. That's kind of obvious.
Infinity. You know, going
What? I never would have thought that.
No, never.
What's ad mean, Charles?
I don't know.
They throw that word in there a lot with Latin phrases, and I have no idea what it means.
It's like, to, so, whatever. It's like a, you know...
It's a preposition?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
I guess so isn't a preposition. What is it, Charles?
I didn't get my grammar knowledge in the books. I got my grammar knowledge on the streets, son. That's
Latin. You don't get Latin from the streets.
I don't get Latin from anywhere, exactly. But except for this show, Ad Infinitum. It's about a history teacher. His name
of course.
is Trevor Moore. And he's...
Trevor Moore?
Yeah, Trevor Moore. And he's a history teacher. He's mild-mannered. He teaches the first grade. You know, they learn about...
I'm excited for the show. I feel like it's going to be really boring. That's the best way to start, is it with a history teacher.
It's a history teacher.
Mild-mannered history teacher.
Mild-mannered, like, 25-year-old history teacher. He's, you know, pretty happy. He's living his life.
Okay.
And he's, you know, fallen in love with a physical therapist named Jennifer. She's gorgeous. She's a few years older than him, but she is, you know, in the terms a douchebag would understand, an absolute smoke show. She's gorgeous. She's, you know, smart. She is good to talk to. She's charismatic. She's all these things. And he's like, man, I'm really the luckiest guy in the world. In our first episode...
I thought, wait, is he a crush on her? Or
no, they're
dating?
They're dating. They're engaged.
Oh, okay.
They're engaged.
Oh, okay.
And,
Gotcha.
you know, he's like, oh man, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And she's moved into his apartment, you know, and our first episode picks up at... He starts his day. You know, he wakes up next to his beautiful fiance. He gets ready. He gets dressed, you know, or takes a shower, gets dressed, you know, makes breakfast, and he gets a letter in the mail. And he picks it up, and he looks at it, and it's got these strange...
It's an invitation to Hogwarts. He's a wizard.
It's a piece of paper, and he opens it, and it's got 4 seemingly random numbers written in the middle, and nothing else on them. And he's like, yeah, just like all the others, and he throws the paper away. And he's been living in Chicago now. Did I mention this place? It takes place in Chicago. No, you haven't,
but now we know it's Chicago.
He's moved to Chicago. That's when we would move out, like, into an establishing shot of Chicago, and then, like, the year or whatever. Because he's been...
Would it say Chicago as well? Because none of us know what Chicago looks like.
Yeah, Chicago...
We need the big text to tell us, because we don't know.
We're not...
No idea.
We're not the guys who made Infinity War. We can't have big text on the screen. Okay. We have little text.
You use the same font as them, too. Or, like, maybe it's the same font, but the text is really small.
We use Comic Sans.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We spell Chicago wrong.
Chicago.
Has it got 2 G's? I think it's got 2 G's, right? Yeah, it's got 2 G's.
At least 3 O's. I don't know.
Chicago. Yeah, I see.
Chicago. He's lived in Chicago for the last 5 years. He met Jennifer when he moved to Chicago, and he's, you know, feeling great. He's loving life. And he, you know, discards the shitty letter that he's gotten in the mail and he thinks it's nothing, and he gets dressed and he goes to work. And the first episode is just kind of a day in the life of this mild-mannered history teacher. He's got some drama at school. It's kind of freaking him out, you know. The PE teacher's like, "Hey, buddy, can you help me smuggle some drugs?" That's not maybe he's got some like crime.
That's really dramatic. Do you mean like, oh, he needs someone to sub for his class?
No,
small, or do you mean like?
Like, I mean, the history teachers, all of the history teachers in the school, like to go out at lunch and smoke a J. And he's like, oh, I don't know if I should. Like, he's a very mild-mannered guy. Is he,
when you say mild-mannered,
yeah.
do you mean like he's like a calm, collected, knows what he's doing person? Or do you mean like he's boring?
He's not boring. He's got a lot of thoughts. He does a lot of thinking. This guy. Okay. But he doesn't do a lot of doing. Does that make sense? Like, he
sticks with his routine?
Yes. He sticks with his routine, and he's just kind of a calm, collected, you know, kind of guy who hasn't really had to face that much adversity in his life. You know, seemingly. And so and we just go through his class, and we show, like, he's good with kids, but he, you know, he's strict but fair, that sort of thing. And so, and the, you know, end of the episode, he's back home, he's with his wife, that she made him dinner. First up, and then, you know, they're sitting down to a lovely romantic meal. First meal they've had together as a fiance, because he proposed right before she left for a conference. Maybe.
Okay.
A physical therapy conference. And
I assume they have those.
They probably have those, right?
Probably talk about different ways to physical therapy.
Mm-hmm. They have to, at least, have one every year, and it was the big one.
It's in Chicago, too.
Best physical therapist. It's like the Oscars.
Yeah.
Mentioning the Oscars, do you know they got 9 million viewers?
It was really bad, wasn't it?
It like 10 years ago, it was 40 million.
Yeah, I watched it. It was bad. Like, because it was, you know, it was fun to like make ballots and stuff for it, and like see who's gonna win. And I'd seen most of the movies that were in it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it was so boring. I know this is super unrelated to your pitch, but God, it was boring.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even barely showed any clips for the movies. It was awful. It was horrendous.
Yeah. Well, that's what they get for being awful.
Fucking Nomadland won everything, and while that was a good movie, it was not as good as Minari.
Anthony Hopkins stole Chadwick Boseman's award.
Yeah.
For some reason.
He was really good in The Father, but like they should have gave it to...
Well, Anthony Hopkins was like, why'd you give me this? I didn't even show up to your dumb, stupid party. I was at home in Wales.
It was so
high.
bad. You didn't see the it live, but... They had like either like a you know, the person was there, or for Chadwick Boseman they had like a nice like in memorial photo or something. I can't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And except for Anthony Hopkins, they had like a headshot that looks like they pulled from like Google Images like seconds before, because they didn't know where he was. He was asleep in Wales because he didn't think he'd win.
Yeah, because he's an 80-year-old man. Why the fuck is he flying all the way to a different country for no good goddamn reason? And
yeah, I guess it was like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. when he won too. So
yeah, but I saw what you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure that's his Twitter profile picture.
That's so funny.
I love it. All right,
let's get back to this. Their physical therapy conference is they're eating dinner.
They're eating dinner. First dinner they've had together as a couple, and you know, he's feeling great. He's feeling really good about his life. And then she says, "Oh dear, oh honey." Jennifer says, "Oh honey, this letter came to you," and he opens it, and this is the same as the letter we saw this morning, and it has 5,000 written on it. That's all. It's the same as before, but it's got 5,000 written on it. And as he opens up the letter, the door gets kicked in, and 6 men, armed men, run in and tell him to get on the ground. And he's like, what the fuck? And they start firing at him as he, you know, goes to defend himself. At this point, you're probably thinking that this is a large change in tone, but
yes.
We're trying to keep it like kind of a fun tone, you know, fun like.
Oh yeah, it's really fun when people come in and start shooting at you.
Yeah, so he, you know, grabs Jennifer, and they jump out the window onto the fire escape and get down to the, you know,
what story
street.
Are they? Is it really high up, or is it like only a few, like third or
three?
Something?
Yeah, I'd say the third story. And they get down, and like they get to his car, and he's
what kind of car?
Toyota Camry.
Okay.
He's got a
That's a boring history teacher car.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a poo brown color, maybe.
He's got a Toyota Camry, and, you know, he's like, oh, I forgot my keys. And at this point, Jennifer, is like shit scared. And Trevor is very calm. He's like, I know what I'm doing.
Because he's mild-mannered.
Well, that, and he's, like, very competent in this situation. Like, maybe he disarms one of the 6 men.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And, like, but it's not like he's showing off. But he's like, and as soon as he gets to the car, and it's like, I left my keys upstairs, he, like, does something crazy. Like, some crazy trick, and, like, can unlock it really easily.
Takes his tie off and he like shimmies it through the window and pulls open the door or some shit like that.
Like some cool like shit. And he's like, what? How the hell do I know how to do all this stuff? I'm a mild-mannered history teacher.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, okay, whatever. Let's get out of here. And he like goes to start his car. And then he's like, wait, shit. And then he goes away and is like, runs up to a homeless guy. He's like, hey, buddy, you want a car? And he tosses the homeless guy, like, you can take this one. And the homeless guy, like, goes to start it, or, like, turn the key. Maybe he's got a backup key in the car.
This is really fucked up, Charlie. This car's about to blow up.
And there's, like, and he's like, all right, we're gonna go. And he's like, okay. And he turns the key, car blows up, and they're like, fuck. And Jennifer's like, oh my god, you let a man die? And he's like, they're gonna think it was us. It's fine. Well, they're gonna think it was.
God, that was really fucked up,
you,
Charles.
Maybe. And
he just murdered that guy.
Yeah, but you know, it's in service of the story, in service of the character, and Jesus. He's like thinking to himself, like, "Whoa, I am weirdly calm in this situation."
I feel like you need to have a way that you don't just murder some random, poor individual.
Okay, what do you want to do?
Maybe he like puts clothes in there or something, or like pays for the pays a bunch of money for the homeless man's jacket or something like that.
He's
puts
not
it in there
Bruce
so it looks,
Wayne.
You know, some shit like that. Like he pays him money so that he can get his coat, and then puts it in the car and, you know, triggers the bomb somehow. So it's not like you're just burning and murdering some poor helpless man.
Well, what about this? That was my first idea. What about this? Instead, like he's like, okay. We're not taking this car. So he puts the key in the ignition and he runs with, Jennifer. And he got a pair of shoes from the car. And he, like, finds a different car that's on the side of the road and jimmies the lock and steals that car. And, peels out. And then we just wait, like, give it a minute, turn back over to the first car, his car, the Toyota Camry. And all 6 of the 5 of the guards run down because he killed one of them, maybe. Sure.
Yeah.
He's like, and she'll be like, "Oh my god, you killed a man." Whatever. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't. I don't think he should sacrifice a homeless man for no reason.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. It was really messed up.
It wasn't really messed up. It was kind of messed up. It just depends on what likable you want to make the character.
Okay. Usually you'd like your protagonist to be somewhat likable, but.
Sometimes you would. And all 5 of the guys walked down and was like, did he take the car? And I'm like, no. And it's like, is the key in the ignition? And like the new guy, maybe they've been picking on the new guy all this time, Whenever we see them, they're having funny conversations, maybe in the elevator down.
Like Pulp Fiction style.
Yeah, it's fun.
Talking about like hamburgers or something.
And they're picking on the rookie who doesn't know anything. And he's the one who's like, yeah, the key's in the ignition. He goes to start it. And they're like, no! And he blows himself up. And only one of them survives. And he's the mini boss of the series.
Okay, he's got a burned face or something too.
He's got a burned face and he's missing a finger. He's missing his middle finger.
Like, he's got 6 fingers. He's the guy from Princess Bride. That's who it is.
Oh yeah, we'll hire that same actor. He's like 80 now. We'll hire him, and we'll cut off his finger for real on camera.
And then give him 2 new ones.
Sew him on. It'll be great. He'll love it. But, yeah. So these guys, Trevor and Jennifer, are driving, and they're like, we gotta get to a motel. And this is the, like, start of episode 2. Like, Trevor's, all right, we need to stay calm. Jennifer takes out her cell phone to dial 911, and he grabs it and, like, snaps it in half and throws it out the window.
Snaps it in half? What year is this? There's phones that you can just snap in half.
You can snap
like an iPhone? You snapping an iPhone in half? That's insane.
He snaps it in half and throws it out the window.
That's crazy. That's going to take a lot of strength.
He snaps it in half with one hand.
Okay, so he's got super strength?
No, he's just a regular, mild-mannered history teacher.
Okay.
He talks about how much, in his history class, he talks about how much he likes Hannibal, by the way, in his history class, you know?
That's weird.
Hannibal? You know Hannibal?
Fucked up. Oh, do you mean the general, or do you mean Hannibal Lecter?
Not Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal the general.
Okay.
Or Hannibal Buress. He talks about how he likes Hannibal Buress and he likes the general Hannibal from the Second Punic War.
Okay, that's who they're teaching in his history class. He's a Roman history professor.
Yeah. No, he's just talking about history events that have happened. He's like, my personal hero is Hannibal. He was brave enough he was clever enough to take those elephants across, and it's like, no, he was crazy enough to do that. Only like a third of the elephants survived when he crossed the mountains with them. Not a lot of elephants, man. Walked out of there with a lot less elephants than he walked in there with. But you know, he's got these idiosyncrasies that maybe lead to something, but maybe don't. So they're chilling in a.
He is Hannibal. That's what it is.
No.
Wait, is that actually what you're doing? Oh my god. All right, keep going.
He's living in a motel with his girlfriend, Jennifer, and she's like, I don't understand why we can't go to the police. I was like, did you see those guys? That was military level level gear. If, they don't already have the police on their payroll, they have tapped police, calls. They know where we'll be before the police can get here, and they'll slit our throats or steal from us or whatever. It's like, this is not a random attack. This is a targeted attack. They want one of us or either of us or both of us. They want them all. They want all of us. And he's like, we just need to figure out why. Jennifer's like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of like crime TV shows, He just,
oh my god.
Like, I've been watching a lot of those crime shows, so now I'm a detective. She's like, I don't think that's,
that works.
I don't think that works like that. And he's like, no, well, there's people shooting at us, so what do you want to do? She's like, go to the police. And he's like, fuck that. No, if you walk out that door, you're gonna get shot or kidnapped or beamed up into space or something. I don't know. And she's like, oh, okay, crazy, go for it. And she walks out that door and like gets, a taxi. And so it's like, hey, can you drive me to One Police Plaza or whatever? And cut to One Police Plaza. Taxi shows up. She steps out of the taxi and immediately collapses to the ground as the taxi drives away. She's been poisoned. And then we cut away. And we're like, okay. And it's Trevor on his own, and he's like, all right. What we're gonna do is hide and try and figure out what these people want from me. But my first clue is the 5,000, so I have to figure out what that
number means. Yeah.
Or if that's a code for something else, which it is. But that's,
I mean, it's actually so really long, right?
Yeah, really long. But there's, obviously, if this were an actual TV show, there would be more plotting until the big reveal. But,
Oh, we're just going straight to the big reveal, okay.
Well, it's a podcast. I don't want to, leave the listeners on edge.
Yeah, sure, use your excuses, Charlie, because you didn't write the beginning, the middle stuff. It's okay. You criticized me for one of mine about not writing middle stuff.
Yeah. Hey.
And now you're doing the same thing, and it's okay. I understand.
Well, I'm also making stuff up on the spot. But there's all sorts of investigations, and he's led to this, big, conglomerate corporation called Endomart. That's what it's called. Endomart.
Like a grocery store?
Yeah, it's like an Endomart Incorporated. Endomart. Yeah, and he's
like the word end and then O at the end and then Mart.
Endomart.
Is the end at Endomart? Is the end of the story at Endomart?
No, not necessarily. But he's like, okay, those guys. He figures out somehow. I don't know. He writes something. He does some PIing, and he realizes Jennifer's been, killed or taken or whatever. And he's like, okay, what's going on here? And he figures out that those men were sent from, Endomart, and Endomart has something to do with it. So he goes to, he sneaks in, and the whole time he's kind of like amazed at himself that he's able to do this stuff. Yeah. And it's like, he's like Bruce Willis in Die Hard,
or Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall,
or The Fugitive from The Fugitive.
Harrison Ford.
Harold Ford. Is that his name? Harold Ford in The Fugitive?
Yep, I think that's the guy. Yeah. Definitely Harold Ford.
And he goes and he finds, Endomart Incorporated. He their headquarters, quote unquote headquarters, which is, out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the Midwest.
Gotcha.
So he goes there.
Nevada.
Yeah, and it's this tiny,
farther
building.
west than you probably planned, but Nevada, great.
No, probably not Nevada. It's gonna be cold.
It's in Reno, Nevada.
Oh God, no, it's not. It can't be because that would cause. It's in the middle of the Midwest, but fuck nowhere. It's this little building, and he walks in, and he sneaks in, and there's a guy who works. It's like a first floor building, and this is the company.
What kind of architecture is it? Is it Gothic? Is it Roman?
It is
post-Soviet
mini mart
architecture. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing, but it's one building, and it's run by
I didn't expect a serious answer to my question.
It's like 6 people, and that's like it's a small business in the middle of like a small Idaho town.
Like a little 7-Eleven, like that small, or is it bigger than that?
Probably, 7-Eleven size, maybe.
Okay.
And they're like, he sneaks in the middle of the night, and then business starts, and the owner of the business goes out. Endomart. This is Endomart, the head of Endomart.
The manager.
Yeah.
With this little Endomart store.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Endomart's based on family values. I mean, look at our first store, still open for business, and it's that, Yeah,
I gotcha.
And so he goes and sits on the back in his big comfy chair, and Trevor, like, pops up behind him, holds a knife to his neck, and says, "Bring me to the actual head of the company," or like, "Why are you trying to kill me?" or whatever.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And our guy, who's the head of Endomart, Bradley Endo, I guess that's his name.
Bradley Endo, yep.
Is at first very confused. Like, what? Why are you... Like, he recognizes, but eventually, recognizes Trevor in a way that he shouldn't, for strangers, quote unquote. So our guy, the Bradley Endo, hits a button on his desk, and the entire room starts going down because there's an enormous underground complex underneath this tiny building. in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Idaho. And he's like, I'll take you to the boss. And he goes to the bottom floor, and there's, you know, a room. It's a pad, sort of like a bedroom situation. And he walks in, or Trevor, and Bradley Endo gets the fuck out of Dodge, and a screen comes on in the darkness of this room. And there is Trevor staring back at his own
oh shit,
visage
this is Total Recall.
on a thing. And that's when the plot of the twist of the series is explained, that Trevor is actually, I don't have a name for him.
Bever.
No, it's, you know, he's had so many names over the years. You just call him Trevor if you want. He's an immortal who has, you know, over the centuries...
Just going a way different place than I thought, okay.
Yeah. Over the centuries has gained this vast amount of wealth, but he's felt disconnected from, like, real human life. And he's, you know, kept forever young and forever healthy. And he's like, all right, what I'm going to do every couple of years, I'm going to go under as a human, a regular person. I'm going to undergo, like, intense psychotropic therapy and, like, hypnosis. And I'm going to transform myself into a different person and just put myself places just to, you know, experience life again, anew.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why Trevor Moore has no real memories of anything before he moved to Chicago 5 years ago. He gets the letter, and that's like the number of hours he has left or whatever. Not
5,000 hours?
No. It's like counting down. That's what I mean. The letters are counting down in their own specific code in order to, you know, tell him when the time is up. And if he, you know, figures it out beforehand and goes rogue, then his people, Endomart, have orders to, like, kidnap him. And, you know, so at this point, after Trevor Moore, ad infinitum, we'll call him, explains this. He's like, yes, I've done this dozens of times. I intend to do it dozens of times more. And the only way that we have to get somebody out of this sort of trance of being a different person is to inflict severe emotional trauma or damage on them. And,
oh no.
And that's when the lights come on in the room, and it's actually like there's standing the you know, melted guard, and maybe like a lady secretary, and he's got his fiance on the ground, and she's gagged, and she's not hurt in any way, but she's like, help. And then, you know, the guy puts the gun up to the back of her head, and without a second thought, blows her brains out. And it's very sudden, and that's when Trevor Moore collapses to the ground.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, is sobbing pain, blah, 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 you know, and he passes out. And he wakes up, and it's just like, man, that was fun, wasn't it? I went on the run like the fugitive, because he's no longer Trevor Moore.
Yeah.
He's the immortal who doesn't have a name. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, I've always wanted to be on the run with the fugitive. And I got to do that. And he's like, yeah, that was a good part. I like that. You know, and maybe the last episode can be this immortal person reminiscing and talking about, you know, pros and cons of the life he led.
Like a debrief or something, yeah.
Yeah, like Trevor Moore.
Maybe we learn more about like what the ones he's done in the past and such.
Yeah.
Damn, I really like that. It gave me a few ideas of how you could do the middle of the story a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we're not really connected to Jennifer, so they probably need to
I think that
have been together for like more of the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she doesn't run away, like maybe she's like totally hit with him. and maybe like, you know, she realizes that the police aren't going to be a help somehow. Like they try to go, and then like the police turn on them or something like that.
Maybe she's the one who has been watching all of the crime shows, and so she's like doing the deduction, and he's like being
more
like
reluctant with it. Okay.
Not more reluctant, but like he's the doer and she's the thinker. Does that make sense?
I gotcha.
And I think that there would be more like road stuff. I think if there was a road trip, like, all right, they you know, are still together when he figures out he has to go to Endomart.
Yeah.
And there's this road trip. I think you could do an episode of them just driving to the Midwest, which, you know, alone on the run. And then maybe you do an episode in a town, they get kidnapped, or she gets kidnapped somehow. I don't know. Or maybe it's in the, I don't know. She's in the car outside. Yeah. She's at the hotel, and he's like, I need to do this alone. This is they're after me. They figure that out. And then that's when they get her. Because I don't want her to just be a non-character. I just didn't have very much in the middle planned. Yeah.
So I feel like she definitely needs to be in it a bit more. She definitely needs to be kidnapped near the end, though, so that we can have that scene. Or maybe he thinks she died, or I don't know, maybe just the kidnapping, because that's better.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there should be hints throughout, like that are kind of misleading, but also not, that sort of make it seem like you sort of realize that he's this sort of immortal being. Like there's
I think he
historical artifacts, like maybe they go to like a safe house, and he like that he's like surprised, like somehow he like remembers the safe house. He's just like they're driving, he's like, I think we need to turn right here, and then he's just like he's operating off of like instinctual muscle memory, and they like walk in, and he's got like all this money and all this stuff in here, and he's like, I don't know how I knew this was here, and there's like all weird artifacts, and it could be like I don't know, we could be sort of misled to think that maybe he's like a sleeper agent. Yeah. Because there could be a lot of sort of like Jason Bourne kind of stuff. That's exactly where I thought it was going.
I think that would be good.
But like, it should be sleeper agent stuff, but it kind of is not exactly perfect. That way you still leave it open for the... Like, I don't want people to get to the end and be like, oh, complete twist. I want them to be like, oh, shit, this makes sense because of all this stuff.
I think what you could do is, like, they figure out that he's not who he says he is. Yeah. Like, they figure out that he, Trevor Moore is a person that has been made. Yeah. And they're like, you didn't exist before 5 years ago on paper. And they try to, and they're like, they think he is a sleeper agent. It's like, you must be one of those sleeper agents that I've heard so much about. Yeah. You know, have you seen American
that could be how
Ultra?
They figure out, like, the whole Endomart thing. So maybe they, like, the investigation starts from that. Like, they try to figure out what in his past led to it. And they're like, wait, no, you haven't existed for very long. And he's, like, freaking out. And she's, like, yelling at him about it. 'Cause she's like, what do you mean? Like, why haven't, everything you told me was a lie? And he's like, I can't remember any of this stuff. I have no idea what happened before then. I don't know. I just haven't thought about it for some reason. Like, my life before Chicago. And... maybe like they go on like a long trail and they like find out like, oh, like actually this identity was created by this company, and they like go interrogate people or something, and then they go to fucking Endomart, and that's like, it's like a long trail to get to that Endomart eventually. Yeah.
But maybe I think that there could be that reveal, and then there could be, she kind of still wants to continue with the investigation because they're after her, but she's like on edge with him. And there can be sort of this, like, unease between them when they do the investigation, but maybe they get into a firefight, or there's some sort of disaster that leaves them stranded. Yeah. And he can be like, I think it would be good if there's, like, their car exploded and they're stuck, at the bottom of a ravine. And there's just a episode where they're walking through the woods and they're, or he's carrying her, and he's like, I don't know who I used to be, but I know who I am now. I'm the man who loves you, Jennifer Moore. Yeah,
I gotcha. So we sort of, because we need to really focus on that, their relationship, because that's what will make the ending so tragic.
Yeah.
And also like really cold because he's just like murdering his, fiance indirectly, to get back to his old self.
Yeah, and I think to the, immortal guy, it's not even anything. He's done this so many times, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the person in the end for the immortal is just like a device to get, like a means to an end. Means to an end.
I actually wrote down, like, clever name guy. That's the name of the immortal.
Clever name guy.
I can't think of one.
I don't know.
He's an immortal and he's a businessman. That's his two things. Mr. All Time.
All Time. That's a dumbass name.
ALTYME.
Still hate it.
It's Swedish.
Altum.
Yeah. ALTYME. It's Swedish.
It's not. Okay. Well, I think that was pretty good, Charles.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I think so too. Well, thank you all for listening to my pitch this week for Ad Infinitum. Bet the title makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I thought it was just stupid beforehand.
Yeah.
So Charlie's just trying to toss some Latin in here because he thinks he's cool.
No, but it makes sense. It's thematic. I know things. It's not really. It's kind of. No. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, is by my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Gloth. And you can find me at Twitter at Charles_lungs, and you can find the podcast at VRP Podcast on Twitter as well. Thank you. You can find this podcast wherever you are able, I assume, because you found it. Congratulations. Yep. Tell all your friends. Tell your wife. Tell your children. Tell your mistress. Tell them all. Tell them all about this great podcast you found.
Tell your physical therapist.
Tell her especially, because she might be hunted down by Walmart. Or him.
Or them.
Or him. Men can be physical therapists too. Glass ceiling has been shattered.
Yep, that was it.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.